All right, I mentioned earlier about John Hornik. I believe he's one of the greatest speakers in the country on this subject matter. I'm glad that John was actually able to get out of federal court yesterday representing one of his clients and catch a flight out late. John is one of those unique kind of individuals that he just gets it. John gets it. He's an experienced real estate attorney. He's represented some of the largest hard money lenders in the country. He does a lot of offerings himself. I mean, John is without a real deal. And I feel humbled and I feel blessed that we have John speak at our event. And when we're done with one event, before I post when the next event is or where it is, the first call I make is to John Hornik. The second call I make is to the producer of our show, Julie Noddle. Those are the two in that order, because I won't put on an event unless John Hornik is here. So ladies and gentlemen, please, please give a warm, warm welcome to the Honorable John Hornik.
9-2, but you heard 9-5? Must be a Republican over there, I understand that. 9.2%, and this debt ceiling debate that's going on every day. Now, being an elected official and a politician, I'm watching this happen, and I'm thinking in my mind, what are the consequences if our government does not reach a consensus on the debt ceiling by August 2nd? Interesting article in the Wall Street Journal just today, would a credit downgrade matter? And the biggest thing that people said that came out of the article that I read was, if we go from a AAA rating as a country to a AA rating, it really won't affect much because most of the people investing in treasuries will not have to pull out of investing in treasuries. A few will. But what will happen is all your mortgages will go up in price as a consequence. And if that happens, your spending power goes down. And if your spending power goes down, people aren't going out to buy things. Consumer confidence is 2/3 of our economy. No one's going out to buy the new house. Real estate levels are staying the same. What it means to me is that and the unemployment rate means we are in this environment for at least another 2 to 3 years. Okay? We're not in the skyrocketing times where you can make money even if you're dumb in real estate. And there was a time there. People thought they were very smart between 2000 and 2005. They weren't smart. They were in a rising real estate market. Okay? We're going to be in this challenging market for at least another 3 years. But that's a good thing because trouble is opportunity. You must believe that. Trouble is opportunity in a real estate market, and that's where we are today. There are deals to be made out there, and it's a very exciting time to be in this type of business. Now, I have a couple phrases I want to give to you, and we'll recircle back with them as soon as we get there. First, skin in the game. This is on the money-raising side. This is on the money-lending side. You're a lender. Borrower comes to you. Okay, first question, how much are you putting in? If the answer is 0, bye-bye. Okay? They have no skin in the game. They have no risk. Their heart, their blood, their soul is not in that real estate deal. They don't deserve your money. When you go and ask somebody for money in your fund, which we're going to talk about in a second, or in your one-off deal, which I'll discuss also, what I call a co-lender or participation model. First thing you tell your investors, my money stands with yours. Easiest way to raise money in the world, skin in the game. You have to have it on both sides of the transaction. Underwrite for downside. I don't want to know if your real estate booms. I don't want to know all the great things that are happening. Worst case scenario. That's how you underwrite as a lender. Everything goes kaput. The guy can't pay you back. He gets divorced. He loses whatever. You're sitting with a piece of real estate. What's that real estate worth in the worst case scenario? That's how you underwrite a hard money real estate deal. And this other question on the fundraising side again, things you never want to hear from your investors. If I knew that was true, I wouldn't have invested with you. If I knew that was true, I wouldn't have invested with you. Which means they believe you didn't disclose something or you lied to them. And that's how you get in trouble when you take money from someone and invest in the deals. So remember those phrases, and we'll start to move forward through the presentation. Now, what you'll see is I will go back and forth between underwriting, origination, and actually the creation of private placements and one-offs. We cover a lot in this talk, and Lenny, if I go long, let me know. But you were a little long this morning, so I think it's only fair that I get equal time. All right, so today we're going to talk about the market analysis, how to be a deal maker, due diligence, fundamentals of borrowing, the fund structures, private placements, business opportunities out there, underwriting, and examples of some loan transactions, things that have closed and things that have not closed. Remember, when you're being a deal maker, underwrite for the downside. If you're lending, it's your money. Treat it as if it's your kids' money, your parents' money, your spouse's money, whoever you love most in the world. Do not part with it and take undue risk. You don't need to in this market, meaning you don't have to chase deals. Downtrending real estate market. We know what that means? We're still suffering from the hangover of 2001 to 2006, when we peaked in the value of the market. All this real estate was underwritten in a rising real estate market situation. What's this piece of real estate worth? Well, I think it's worth $10 million. I could lend $5 million. In reality, it was only worth $4 million. That's what happened between 2001 and 2005. Anybody who's holding a portfolio of loans today is dealing with asset workouts. They're dealing with repositioning of all this real estate that they've collected. They're not in the business of lending, by the way, right now. The people in the business of lending are the people who are starting today, because they get to underwrite this asset at $4 million and not at $10 million. So it's a great time to enter this business today. You need to get creative and look for opportunities out there. Values on real estate are still trending down countrywide, and I will tell you that will not change until the unemployment rate comes down. Interesting fact, how many presidents have been reelected with the real estate with unemployment rate above 7.4%? Does anybody know? 2 in the history of our country. 2. FDR during the Great Depression, and Ronald Reagan during his second reelection, because everybody thought we were about to boom, and you know what? We did. The current unemployment rate is at 9.2%. If we added 318,000 jobs between now and Election Day, we'd only be at 8.6% unemployment. Something to think about when you think if the power of the presidency is going to change next year. So take a look at the office, the unemployment rates. Most important thing to dictate where the economy's going. Detroit and Las Vegas, vacancy rates are up 13.4% to 14.5%. Office construction is decreasing 10% over the next 3 years. Things aren't being built right now. Multifamily, Leonard touched on it, he's dead on, expanding. That's a place where you could hard money lend in and turn money quickly right now. You could turn it, if you're doing rehab, you could turn it in quick as 90 days, and there you can charge a lot for it. We could talk about pricing in a minute. Those deals are out there, and I'm looking at a lot of them personally as well. Lodging is increasing a little, but not so much. We're not in a boom time. So you could focus on multifamily now and then look for deals in the other sectors that make sense, but you must underwrite correctly. So how do you become a deal maker? When you get, let's say you're a broker and you're not a lender in this market. You don't just send in an application to a private lender and say, my client has a $5 million property, you lend at 50% LTV, and I need $2.5 million, so it should all work out. Because that's just the start of a transaction. Things get uncovered during a transaction that decrease value, that become problematic, that aren't correct. A loan could be closed as long as you're a deal maker and you're flexible. Don't draw a line in the sand and say it only has to be $2.5 million. If you could get that loan done for $2.2 million, be willing to do it for $2.2 million if your client can afford to do it. A loan is a negotiation because the facts aren't there yet. Facts have to be verified. So you have to dig your heels in and you have to work a loan to get it closed. I will tell you this, having closed in 2007, when I was at my private lender, we closed $600 million in hard money loans across the country. Okay? Everyone was like root canal. Nothing came in easy. You have to, it is so much work to close a private money loan, but you can do it. You could get organized. We could put you in a position where you have the proper checklist, the proper documentation, and you take no risk that you're not supposed to take, which is very important to your investors. I'll discuss that in a second. Leonard discussed this for a little bit. People think they get an appraisal. That's just the first step in underwriting. You must go out and see the property or send somebody who knows about real estate to see the property. Real life example. I had a deal out in Las Vegas of 2 shopping centers. Looked great in an appraisal. CBRE appraisal came back, supported the value of the loan. Said the rent roll was this, the NOI was this, and they had these great tenants. Sent somebody out to the property to take a look at it. Half the stores were blank, empty. We're actually on the phone with our guy on the ground looking at the real estate who's going, I'm standing in front of where they say the Blockbuster is, and it's empty. The borrower came to us and presented a rent roll and 2 months of canceled checks from Blockbuster. Complete fraud. Okay? He was trying to steal the money from the company. Now you know the story. Shame on you if you don't send someone out to the property. You cannot just rely on an appraisal. You must go there. You must call local people. Everybody has friends. That's the way real estate works. You get on the phone with someone local, and if they don't know somebody, you keep asking, do you know this property? What's the history? What's the story? There's always a story behind real estate. Do not be sold on a bad property. This is not the market to chase deals. It was between 2005 and 2001 and 2007. People chase deals. If you didn't do it, somebody else was going to do it. There was a lot of point shaving going on, I'll give it to you for 12% interest. This guy will give it for 11%. I'm going with him. This is not the market to chase deals. You don't have to. There are a ton of deals out there, and you have to weed through the ones that make sense. Act like you are personally investing in the property. I said this, parents' money, children's money. Do not part with your money unless you're 100% sure. Be an educated salesperson when you're dealing with lenders. Make a deal, be flexible, be creative, and do your due diligence. So what kind of due diligence are we talking about? I am a lawyer. I have a law firm. We have 20 people. Offices, 40 Wall Street, New Jersey. Title. You get title on every deal. You know you're in a first lien position if that's what you're doing. You review title. You do not take title risk. You close every deal with a title company and a nationally recognized title underwriter that says you're in a first lien position, and these are the only exceptions, and you get those exceptions real small, so you take no title risk. Survey. I don't need a survey. This is a hard money loan. Why would I ever need a survey, right? Survey goes with title. If you don't have a survey, you don't know where that legal description it could be. That legal description could be something out in Iowa, and you're lending on a property in Pennsylvania. The survey takes the picture of the legal description and plots it for you. You need it. Don't ever let anybody tell you you don't need a survey. Environmental risk. You have the lender defense under CERCLA. You need a phase 1 within 6 months of closing to rely on your statutory federal defenses if there's something wrong with the property. Your investors are not signing up to take environmental risk. Your investors aren't signing up to take survey or title risk. Your investors are only signing up to take market risk. And that's what your job is to do your underwriting on. You have to get all that. Underwriting plus supporting documentation. Don't believe what everybody writes on their application for your loans. You have to dig in. That's the beginning. Roll up your sleeves, rent rolls, go see the property, cancel checks. You will be shocked at what you uncover. True story. We had a note purchase deal down in Florida. They said it was worth $15 million, and they had a contract in place to flip the note for 15. One day I'm going through all the document. I see the exact contract with a $9 million purchase price signed. Again, fraud. They gave us $15 million to support a higher value for the loan. I found it in the documentation. My investors were very happy. My potential borrower was not so happy. But that's the type of due diligence you have to do, which means you need to have smart people around you and good professionals around you. You can't chintz on that. It's very, very important to get people that know what they're doing, or you'll run the risk. How many deals does it take, bad deals does it take to lose all your investors? One. Leonard talked about it a little bit in the fund, and I had some experience at this. If you have a fund and you're doing 100 deals and 90 turn out great, and each fund participant is in each of the deals, and they make their money, they don't care so much about the 10%. Again, 2001 to 2006, that was absolutely true. World's changed. You lose somebody's money in one deal, goodbye. Not only are you lose them, you lose all their friends, and then you get the reputation you don't know what you're doing. You might as well leave the business. One deal it takes to make a mistake. That's how careful you have to be. Here's some false statements you'll love as a hard money lender or private lender. Since I am paying points, there is no due diligence needed on this deal. People have said that to me. Who said that? Okay? Private lending, you know why private lending's big right now? Because there's no other money out there. They can pay as much as they want. That's what the market will hold. You do full due diligence. My checklist for my clients and my own lending company, 71 items. 71 items, and we run through that checklist. People see it and I'm like, are you crazy? Do you want to close a deal or not? That's exactly how we go through it. And you know what? You should have that checklist on every single deal. Some of the items are inapplicable. If it's not a construction deal, you don't need a construction bond. Okay? Most of them are. And you have to be careful about that. This was supposed to be a no-document loan. I don't know what that is. A no-document loan. That's called a gift in my family. And if you want to be in the gifting business, you're not supposed to be in this business. Not in the lending business. I had another one I wrote down. Hold on. Oh, this is a good one. I got this the other day. I'm looking at two loans. Broker says to me, one's for $75,000, one's for $150,000. I think they're going to work out. Calls me up and goes, borrower needs to close by the 31st. Why can't we close in 3 days? I said, okay, broker, that's fair. I understand. How about because I don't have 68 of the 71 items on my checklist? Let's start there. Tell me why I should give this guy my money because he has to close in 3 days and he hasn't done anything he was supposed to do. The broker goes, oh. Okay? Don't part. Don't be shy. Never part with your money unless you're 100% sure that everything you've asked for is right. You will protect your business and protect your investors that way. It's very, very important. Honesty with your lender. This is for the brokers out there and your borrowers. Don't lie. A good lender is going to figure it out. Once you lie, you're out. You're not going to get a loan at all. Do due diligence. I told you the missing tenant example. Come in with realistic LTVs. Don't sell as a broker. A lot of you guys will bring stuff to me, to Sam Cohn, who's a friend and a client, to other lenders in the room. Just be honest with them. You'll get a deal done and your credibility will go far. Having sat on a credit committee, there's nothing worse than sitting there and realizing that your borrower and or your broker has completely lied to you about something. Okay? It's a terrible, terrible result to be in, and that's where litigation starts. So be honest. Use realistic LTVs. The market's not going up. We discussed that in the beginning. We're going to be in this situation for a while. You can't assume you're going to have 90% sellout over the next 3 years on a condo deal anymore. It's not happening. If it's not happening, underwrite realistically, ask for a realistic amount of money to borrow. Hire competent professionals and don't fight the due diligence process. If I have a 71-item checklist, it's not there for show. Okay, don't call. Do I need items 36 and between 36 and 45? Yes. That's why it's on the checklist. But my attorney who did my will for my family says I don't need that. Fire your attorney and get a real estate professional that knows what he's doing. Okay? The $500 you wanted to pay the guy who did your will, you're going to lose. It's not worth it. Pay a professional. Surround yourself with smart people. It's the only way to run this business correctly. That's part of your investment in your business. That's not the place to save money on. You save money in other areas. We'll talk about fee collection in a little bit and where they go. I divide up this business in a little different way in my mind than Leonard does, but we're very similar in that regard. I'll discuss that in a sec. But your professionals, get competent professionals. If you don't have it, it will hurt you in the long run. Tough underwriting standards. Property evaluations are stricter today. You're not getting the fluff, you're not getting the range. If you go from a CBRE down to the little guys, you're not getting the inflated values, so your loan amounts have to be realistic. You need an environmental survey. Insurance must be done. How many borrowers say, why do I need insurance? Because I, as a lender, don't underwrite insurance risks. If your building burns down, I'm supposed to be paid. If there's a title defect, I'm supposed to be paid. I'm not taking that risk, nor are my lenders. That's the type of thing you must cover. And make sure, if you're a broker, your lender has a record of closing deals. If it's tough to close a deal, I'm telling you that. Make sure they have a history of closing deal. If not, don't run from them. So how are deals getting financed today? You have conventional financing. Some of it's coming back. You have the national lenders, somewhat active, not so much. The regional lenders are more, and mostly on residential and some rehab. Okay, they're a little more busy than the conventional. You have hard money, private money. Leonard was just in, and this conference was in the Wall Street Journal. It was a great article. It's out there. People are participating because the credit has not opened up the way it was supposed to under all the government stimulus money, and therefore people are looking to deals. They're thinking differently now, going, okay, this is the new norm. It's not going back to the way it was. Therefore, how am I going to make money? I'm going to go to private lenders. Huge opportunity while you're all here. Let's talk about one-offs, okay? After the Bernie Madoff crisis, nobody wanted to give money into a black box and say, just invest it for me. Okay? Some of you who are not in this business and are starting out may not be ready for a fund today. If you're successful, you get a few under your belt, you may be. There is a method to do loans on one-offs through participation agreements, co-lenders agreements, or fractionalized loans. How does that work? Well, you have a mortgage on a piece of real estate for $100, and Tom Jones wants to come and invest, and you have a participation agreement, and he wants to put in $10, he gets 10% of the loan. He is on the mortgage and the note. He is a direct investor in the deal. And you fill that all up, and you take your fees, and you come up with a co-lender or participation agreement. Everybody signs it, and that's the agreement on the property. It's a way to go until you build up into the business of the mortgage pool or the fund. Now, I've had clients who come in, to be honest, who were scared about the fund, and I said, we'll get you started on the one-offs. And you'll do a couple under your belt, and they come back and they're ready for the fund. They're successful. The investors in the one-offs see the returns they want, and they say, I'm going to now participate in a fund. It could be a stepping stone, but it is another option. It also allows investors control over what you're investing in. More so when Bernie Madoff happened, nobody wanted to give anybody money and say, just invest for me. I'm going to turn my eye and go live in Palm Beach, Florida, and hope I get my 1% per month. This allows people to say yay or nay on each deal. Call me when each deal comes. Now, it's more work for people in the lending business because you have to have a list of people, and you have to be confident you could raise money for each loan and call them. It's not at your disposal, which is, trust me, I've been in both scenarios, much easier with a fund, but it is an option. And then you have the mortgage fund, which we've been discussing for a while. Each fund has to have an investment focus. And I say this to everybody. And sometimes new people who are getting in funds come in and say, well, I want to do rehab. I want to do acquisitions, dispositions. I may want to do some sale leasebacks. And, you know, you can't be a master of everything. Okay? Somebody, one of the smartest men I ever met said, do less better. Do less better. If you're great at one thing and you get that reputation, whether it's investing in distressed notes, whether it's rehabs, whether it's only manufacturing, whether it's solar, do that great and you will make money. Do not try to master everything. You cannot possibly do it. Your fund document should reflect that accordingly. It's easier for you to sell to investors to raise money and say, I am the expert on single-family, non-owner occupied commercial rehab in this region of the country. I know the market, I know what I'm doing there, rather than saying I'm the master at everything across the country and I want your money to invest in it. So keep your focus, and these are some of the focuses we have. Foreclosure plays, redemption rights, trap equity workouts, big, happening in Michigan right now. Huge, we were discussing it before with the guys from AFIS. it is a big market up there. There's a lot of money going in. There's a lot of foreclosure opportunity, redemptions. The laws are friendly for it right now. But there's a ton on the market. Values are plummeting there, and they continue to do that. That could be a focus of your fund. One-off residential, single-family bulk purchase of pools, which used to use government stimulus money. Didn't happen as much as it should from the stimulus money, but that was available. Distressed commercial REO and notes. Any regional bank that you go to in your area, go back to where you live, you call your regional bank and say, you guys have any distressed notes or mortgages I could come look at? If they vet you and they think you're a real player, you could go into their conference room and they'll hand you all the deals that you could buy at a discount. You can walk in, regional bank. You're in the area, you know the area. Maybe there's a piece of real estate you're interested in that you could go in and buy the note at a discount. A lot of players are going in now, not only participating on the equity side, they say, I'm going to buy your note, Mr. Borrower, from regional bank. I'm going to refinance it so you can make your payments. I'm even going to put some money in to redo the lobby and make it more fancy to increase the value of the real estate. But for that, you're going to make me a 20% owner in the equity. And these are smart plays. These are what I'm talking about by saying getting creative with the market we're in. And we are staying in this market for a while. Lenders fund the least risky portion. This is about tiering. I was discussing with Mr. Landau before. He came to me and said, I have deals, but I don't want to pay 12%. Now, what you pay in terms of interest depends on where you are in the risk factor. And he understands that. And he said, well, if you were in at 25% of the risk, meaning the real estate would have to lose 75% of its value before I lost a dime, what would you charge? Well, I wouldn't charge 12% for that because that's not fair. I would charge less. So that's what we were discussing. Your investors have to understand that their risk depends on where they are. Their interest rate will depend and reward will depend where they are in the interest rate, in the risk of the real estate. You could be at the top with very little risk. You don't get a return. You could do the whole thing where you get a big return because you're taking risk. And that's the way it works. And you tranche that in real estate, and we could show you how to do that if you have more questions. Green buildings and solar are big right now. Everybody all of a sudden's in the solar business with the government incentives. I don't need to touch that, but you can see that. Funds can do that well. It is a play on real estate, and it's a play on rehabbing properties. You could put on capital improvements through solar, government funded, and improve a property at no cost to your investors. Sale leasebacks and bridging and servicing loans. All right, let's talk about fund structure, how I create my funds. The fund, and I'm going to dial back one sec. I believe there are three ways to make money in the hard money lending realm, okay? You have the origination side. You could be a broker in that. You go out there, you grind it out, you get these loans, you get them to sign a commitment with you and commit with your origination firm that you're going to find them the money. That's one way you could get fees on that. Then you have the money raising side, which we're going to discuss now, which is you have your own fund. You have your management side, you have your fees, you have everything that Leonard did discuss. That's a second. The third is your servicing. Two ways to service. You have the servicing side of the money that you've taken. You're an asset manager, and then you have the servicing side of the loan, which is what the mortgage office does. So there are three: servicing, origination, and money raising, all lucrative businesses. By the way, you could be in one business and not the other business. You could have partners that only have a certain percentage of the origination business because that's what they're good at, and you could have partners that have the money raising side, their only aspect in that business, but you're involved with everything. So it's not one business. I view it as silos of separate businesses, and they should be kept separately for a lot of reasons. Mostly conflict of interest. But that it's very important as an asset manager of a fund, your decision is to only invest in real estate that gets a return for your investors. As an originator, your job is to get the best loans and get that loan funded. Hypothetically, and maybe more realistically, the asset manager of a fund and an origination person could have a conflict. He wants to close a deal, and the manager of the fund may not believe the deal should close because something is missing. So it's good to keep them separate, and I can help you set that up. Leonard's very familiar with this as well. So we have an LLC, and the LLC, the fund you could call it, is where the investor's money goes. You go around, you raise money, it houses the investment money, it holds on to the investment, it pays the investors a return, and it pays management fees to the manager of the fund, which is you guys who own the fund. Now, what's the one thing I said in the beginning that you never want to hear from an investor? Non-disclosure, right. I said, never want to hear this from an investor. If I knew that was true, I wouldn't have invested with them. Disclosure. You disclose everything in these documents. That $99 ppm that Leonard discussed earlier can't possibly disclose what you need. It's a painstaking process to understand the business you're going to be in, whether it's REO, whether it's commercial properties, whether it's buying notes, and then going through all the risk factors that could happen. Interest rate risk, a war, all this stuff has to be disclosed in your PPM, not because it's so important to your business, it's important if things go bad. Because when things go bad, your investors look to sue you, your friends look to sue you for whatever reason they can. And if you didn't disclose it, you're afoul of the security laws, you're gonna get sued. Going back to the last slide. These are the fund on the right, the LLC is what takes the investors. The LLC has a manager. All LLCs do, and that's another entity, either an LLC or a corporation. That's the entity that all you guys own and control the fund. So the manager on the left makes decisions for the fund on the right. Your investors get a piece of the fund on the right. They're members in that fund. So that it's a control mechanism. Now the LLC on the left, the management could also be a corporation, but I prefer to use LLCs today because they're most flexible. They give managers the most flexibility to negotiate with their partners on how decisions are made and so forth. All right, so you have, this is more of the stuff. The fund, the limited liability company, some of the documents we come up with. And by the way, this law stuff is kind of boring, so I understand that. I know it. I'll explain it to you when we sit down together. Should you want to, or if you guys could all call with questions. After these events, I always get a ton of them. It's my pleasure to take the calls and answer to the extent I can. You have your operating agreement and your management agreement. What does the operating agreement do on your fund side? The fund you created, well, it tells your investors when they're going to get returns and what their expectations are. And what we do is we create a waterfall in there. So after the money comes in from your investors, your interest comes in and goes into a pool. And you pay some expenses and you pay your management fee, and then it goes down to the first prong in your waterfall. And I'll explain to you what a waterfall is in a sec. And your investors want an 8% return before you put a dime in your pocket. Okay, you give them 8%. And then the next one is you get to catch up 8% as a manager. So then you get some money in your pocket. And then the third one is you split the rest of the profits. Now picture a waterfall and an operating agreement as a bunch of cups on top of each other. This cup's getting a lot of play today. You see that? I keep using it. You have a cup on top, you have a bigger cup underneath, and a bigger cup underneath. A waterfall is when you take a bucket of water, which is money, and you pour it in the top. So when the top fills up, it spills over to the second prong. And when the second one fills up, it goes to the third. So to the extent there's water or money coming into your business, these people get paid. So being at the top of the waterfall is more important than being at the bottom. The bottom is the most risky piece. That's what your operating agreement is going to say. So the person at the top of your waterfall is going to be your investors. And their cup's going to be this big until they get an 8% return. And then it's going to flow over to the second cup, which is bigger. And then you're going to get your return. And if there's still water or money flowing through, it's going to flow to the third. That's the waterfall concept, and that's what we build into your operating agreements and its market. This is a fee-based business. Leonard talked about it. I brought a couple PPMs I did with people. If anybody has questions on fees and what fees you could charge, there's tons of them. And you divide it up depending on the return you want to give to your investors. Management agreement, same thing for the management company. It's an LLC or a corporation. You do an operating agreement. The management company runs the fund, runs the business of the fund. And that's the thing you own, and that's how you make your money. All right. Understanding the legal side of raising money. Leonard, how are we doing on time? All right. The need for capital from private investors. Okay? Skin in the game. You must have skin in the game. I told you that. Easy to raise money if somebody trusts that your money's at risk with them. Very hard if it's not. And your investors are sophisticated. They're accredited investors. They're smart. If you're getting 2 points or 3 points on a deal, that can't be your risk in the deal. Your risk has to be 5 to 8 points. They understand that. You need to make less on the deal. If your money's going in, they trust you. I put together $500,000 in 24 hours last week for 2 deals I liked. You know how I did it? I put in $100 grand. Okay, I put in $100 grand. I sat down with 3 guys. It took less than 24 hours. First question they all asked, how much you in for? I'm in for 100. They're in with me. That's how it works, the money raising side. Build a track record. You want to get in this business? You want to do one-off deals? Keep careful notes about what you're doing. One of my clients who came out here 2 seminars ago is doing one-off deals now. He has $2 million dispersed. He's now thinking of going into a fund. Okay? He has the returns. He's giving his investors 13%. And he hasn't lost money, and they're very happy. He has it all documented properly. Of course, past performance doesn't mean anything for the future, but when he sits with them, they have the confidence in his abilities and his underwriting, and he's showing that to other people, and that helps his marketing for a fund. Avoid registration with the SEC. What we do, 506 Reg D offerings, means you're exempt from registration as a security. That is the easiest way to do this and disclose it. If you want to become a REIT or you want to become a mortgage REIT, you're outside the expertise of this seminar, and it's costly and expensive and risky. If you ever get there, terrific. But it is something that I've had people raise $100 million on the documentation re-repair. And if you guys could deploy $100 million over a period of time, you're going to be making a lot of money, especially in this business. So we have the flexibility to do what we have without registering as a security. Private placement, I discussed this, outlines and defines the relationship, protection of the entrepreneur, the risks. It tells them everything they need to know, so they never make that statement, if I knew that's what they were doing, I would not be investing with them. State law versus federal law. Leonard and I go back and forth on this. It's funny. When we do a California fund, it has lower investment thresholds. Okay, I understand that, which means you could go to people of less wealthy people to take money into your fund, rather than the accredited investor definition under the current securities laws. The rub is you can't raise outside of California, or you can to a de minimis amount. I like doing 506 Reg D offerings because when you get into this business, you never know where you're going to be able to raise money. So we like to give you options. You're in New York, you put New York down. New York, people live in Connecticut, you put Connecticut down. You inevitably put New Jersey. Everybody in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut somehow ends up in Florida. It just happens. You're on vacation, you meet someone in Florida, you put in all those states so you could take money from them. You don't necessarily have to register in each state. Your documentation has to permit it. The law says within 9 days, it's 9 or 15 days of registration, of taking money from someone in a state, you need to register in the state. Your documentation can do it. And the registration fees, once you do a federal filing on Edgar, is not prohibitively expensive. Give yourself flexibility and think big. Don't think small. Nobody ever became wealthy by thinking small. Think big. You may be bigger than you contemplate. And that's an important part. You had a question? Raising money from abroad. I always get this question. Expensive and difficult to do. Okay? There is a withholding tax that you get hit with if you bring money in offshore. The way you structure it is you create a fund in the Cayman Islands, and you create a fund in the United States. The fund in the United States buys the asset, seasons it, and we could debate when seasoning takes place, 30, 60, 90 days holds it, and then sells the asset, in this case a loan, to the outside fund. That way it's not not investing as a U.S. investor. Okay? It's complicated, it's expensive, and if foreign investors get hit with a withholding tax, they are creamed. So I encourage people not to do it or find a way to get the money onshore and be taxed as a U.S. resident rather than as a foreign investor. Reverse mergers are big with China. That's going on, although a lot of, that's dried up tremendously right now because of what's going on. There were some bad investments in Chinese companies. There were some bad disclosures. It's pretty much stopped the ability to raise money in the United States to invest in Chinese companies right now. Total disclosure problem, falsified documents is what it is, but that's dried up. But the reverse merger was a big product that was coming out of China for a while, and one of my affiliated firms did a ton of it, and they're doing none of it right now. All right, so compliance with state. So I encourage a Reg D offering. If you only want to stay in California, that works too. Obviously, we can handle what you need to have handled. The point is, think big. Think about where you're going to get your money from. You need to register in the states that you're going to be taking money from someone and comply with what they call the blue sky laws. Each state you take money from someone, you need to comply with their laws. So if you're only going to be in New Jersey and you're only going to be in New York, you do 2 states, that's where you have to comply with the blue sky laws. If you comply with Reg D, in most states, it's just a sister filing in that state. It's a U2 filing or a Form D filing in the local state. So it's easy to comply with. Otherwise, you got to jump through the hoops of complying with Blue Sky. Little comparison, I just discussed this between a Reg D filing and a state-registered filing, okay? Lending in 50 states with proper licenses, 50 state investors. That means you can take money from anybody in the 50 states. There's no advertising. You must be an accredited investor, and you're not open to public inspection. 80% lending in state, 20 in other states. That's California. Only investors from the state are allowed, plus foreign investors from other states to a de minimis amount. That's the 20%. Advertising generally allowed. Investor suitability. You must. Here's the one thing. I always get this. People just starting out, they get a little nervous where they're going to be able to raise money. You only can deal with accredited investors. You can't take money from Aunt Molly if she's not an accredited investor. You will subject your whole business to risk. It is not worth it. Is this not working? There you go. So what is an accredited investor under the securities laws? Net worth of $1 million, income over $200,000, $300,000 in joint in each of the 3 most recent years, and a reasonable expectation to do the same in the current year. Those are your clients for investors. Don't call and ask me if you could take somebody from someone less than that. If you're asking me the question, it means you shouldn't be taking it from it. And when does that become a problem, by the way? It's not as if you took a check from someone who's not an accredited investor becomes a problem right away. It becomes a problem if the investment blows up. And again, Aunt Molly or Aunt Mary says, if I knew that wasn't true, or that was true, I would have invested with them, and I'm not a sophisticated investor. I had no way of knowing that's not true. Game over. Close your business. Close your business. Banks, investment companies, broker-dealers, business development companies, employee benefit plans, charitable organizations, all accredited investors, sophisticated. You can take money from all these people if you have the right product and they want to invest. Question?
Excuse me, John. We're going to do Q&As this afternoon. We have plenty of time for Q&A.
All right, I apologize. I didn't know the format. Components of PPM. This is a document. I have one here. I'll show it to you. You guys will find it interesting. You have your business plan in it, the description of your business, the risks associated with investing in that business, the personnel, your advisory board, your management team, the use of the proceeds, how are you going to use the money you're taking from people, and the offering price. It's all spelled out. A $99 document doesn't do it, guys. You will see, and I'll go on top of it. When you get professional, I don't care if you use me or not. I'd like you to, but if you don't, that's fine. Whoever you use will know. If you go to a sophisticated investor and you're using a $99 document, they know it's a $99 document. They've invested before. You ever see Dress for Success, dress for the job you want? Walk in with proper professionals, proper documentation, and people will know you're serious. If you walk in with anything less, they're not going to treat you seriously. You can't ask someone for $100 million and not have the proper documentation or representation. It won't work. It's part of the package. It's the investment in your business. Advertising. I always hear, questions. Who could I advertise to? Here's the rule of thumb. You got to have a touch on them. You got to have an idea that they're an accredited investor. What's legal is either by you have personal knowledge, your company has knowledge that the people who are in the room are accredited investors. Then we could start talking about investments. Now, those people will fill out a subscription agreement that we prepare that verifies that, which is a combination of a commitment to be in the fund as well as an investment questionnaire in order for you to do your due diligence on who you're taking money from. You're required to do that by law. But you cannot send out broad emails to random people that you don't know that says, I need money. Okay? When does that become a problem? Again, somebody invests with you, you don't do your due diligence, the deal blows up, you get sued, they're not an accredited investor. On top of that, if the local blue sky enforcement divisions or the SEC is looking around and they see these advertisements, once in a while they'll take action against you. So that kind of general advertising doesn't work. Touch. Do you know? All right? So fundraising opportunities. Your wheel should be turning. Where am I going to get money from? Who do I know? You make a list. Friends and family always start soon, as long as they're an accredited investor. Strategic partners. Local and regional institution, broker-dealers. How do you get these people together? Wine and cheese parties. You invite them over, you show them the investment opportunity, as long as you know they're accredited investors. Friends and family are very important. By the way, the best way to get business is to have someone cheering for you. Having someone say, they're the best. This guy gets me the best returns. Good argument for the one-off deals to get a couple done under your belt and let those people who invested with you go out, because you know what everybody likes to do? Everybody likes to brag about how smart they are and how they're doing. So if you bring in 5 investors who get a great deal on some of your one-offs, then you say, you know what, I'd like to raise some more investors, can you help me out? Absolutely. They're out there going, I got 13%. This guy's the greatest thing since sliced bread. All of a sudden you have a business and it starts rolling. Those are your biggest fans, those are the people. So when you start, get some good people that you know who are accredited investors who will be loud for you and you're in your cheering, on your side to help you build the business. All right, current philosophy on underwriting. I'm going to switch back now to my role on the credit committee. Sponsor must understand lenders' mentalities. Somebody borrowing and a broker. You're a lender today. This is for you if you're a broker, if you're a borrower, or you're a lender. Each deal must be underwritten properly. This wasn't true way back when, and Leonard said it and I said it, pre-credit crash of 2007. If we did 100 loans and 90 were good, we made money, it was great. Today, each loan has to work. Each loan has to make sense. Each loan has to have a realistic exit strategy. Okay? First question to your borrower that comes in that you're going to get as investors, how much do you have in the deal? Next question, how you paying me back? How are you going to take me out of this loan in 1 year, 18 months, 2 years? If they stutter and they don't have an answer or they have nothing in the works, bye-bye. Come back when you figure out a way to take me out of the loan. We used to have a funny thing at the company I used to work at. They used to send around congratulations when the loan closed. Congratulations, we closed another loan. And we were heavily invested in each loan. Every time I hit reply to all and everybody in the company, please hold off congratulations until we get paid back. Closing a loan. Congratulations on that, get me my money back. Then we could hit congratulations and pat each other on the back. I told you about the Las Vegas deal already. It was in a great location. Oh no, this is a different deal. You'll like this deal. This is called Getting Creative. I put this in there. Right down the block. We did a lot of investing in Las Vegas. Values are still low. It hasn't come back. This property's right by McCarran Airport. If anybody's interested in buying it, we could work something out. They were doing a hotel timeshare, all right? They were looking for a casino element. Go figure, like there's not enough space here in Las Vegas right now, looking around. They came in and they said, we have to meet with you, we have to meet with you. Okay, A lot of borrowers want to do that. We're going to reposition the property. We're going with an alternative lifestyle timeshare. And then they continued to say, do you know swingers have nowhere to go? And look, I judge nobody. I'm an elected official. I learned that a long time ago. Said, no, I actually did not know. Swingers had nowhere to go. And do you know that the homosexuals don't have a place to go either in a timeshare situation? I go, no, I didn't know that either. Courage, that's great. And they had pamphlets and books and stuff to show and stuff. But the interesting thing is they said that they had to have a wall up between the two because apparently they don't like each other, which I didn't know. So they came in with a plan with a division right through the timeshare of both. Obviously, we didn't reposition the property that way, but look, they were creative. We encouraged them to come up with another solution, and that's what they came with. It didn't fly. I have no idea if it was going to be a success, but I know that my investors were not going to continue to fund that project with that regard. But you know what? You get some interesting stuff. We talked about exit strategy for people coming to you for a loan. Realistic vision, sell out of the property, bulk sale of multiple properties, or refinance. The refinance arm is starting to come out. The sellout, I don't see it happening. And the bulk sale of multiple properties is a possibility. It's hard to do and Leonard said before, you know, the $50 million loans, I've done those. I was at a place we were doing those type of loans. They're not getting done today. He's dead right. If you got a deal in Costa Rica, you know, beachfront, that's the best deal, don't even bother. There's nobody in the country that's going to be financing that today. And I know the market. Your sweet spot is between $500,000, maybe less if you're smaller, and $5 million. You could build a great business right there. You don't overly expose your investors to everything. You keep them tight. You spread it out over a bunch of investments, and you could have a great business. 50, 100 million, all your eggs are in one basket, and if that deal blows up, and I've had deals that size blow up, it is a disaster. And we're still working through some of the deals that blew up. Realistic time frame. Where are you going to be in 18 months? Always ask the question. The place I used to be at had graduated interest rates. First year month 1 to 12, first year 12% interest, 12 to 24, 18% interest. If you're in year 3, God help you, 24% interest. I mean, do the math, right? You might as well give the keys to the property. So ask the borrower. He's great, happy to close a loan. He's thrilled to take your money and put it in his pocket. Well, how are you going to pay me back in 18 months? What is going to change in your life, in your world, or in the world in general that you're going to pay me back? Again, if he doesn't have an idea, that loan is suspect. And be very careful. Talked about this, $9 million loan. Miami Beach, this is a couple of examples. I have more examples, but I think I'm running over, so I'll hurry up. Owner claimed there was a $15 million discounted note purchase. I discovered a $10 million contract. Nothing more awkward than calling the borrower and saying, how much was it? It was a $15 million deal. Well, I have a $10 million contract in front of me. They sent it to us by mistake. Dead quiet on the phone. Oh, I don't know about that. I got to go talk to my partner. Oh, really? You have to talk to your partner? Great. Talk to your partner. Come back and call him. You know, deal died. This was the shopping center in Nevada. The tenants weren't there. We ended up closing that deal, though. You know why we closed that deal? Because there was a value there. And that was my point in the beginning. It's hard to close a loan. You figure the guy was lying to us, but our investors got comfortable at the end that the property could support a $6 million loan. Okay? You could close that deal if you're willing to take the risk and you disclose it to your co-lenders. This was another example. Guy came, this was vacant land in North Charleston, South Carolina, which was hot for a while. $20 million loan on 476 acres of land. The value came back at $17.4. The borrower closed for $8.7. He came in for $20 million. Now, you tell me, all right? You asked for $20 million and you're willing to close for $8.7. What do you really believe the property's worth? Okay? It was up to us to do our due diligence and come up with a property value. Don't be shy about arguing values. Don't be shy about saying no to your borrowers. That doesn't work for me. You need to do what you're going to do first before I give you my or my investment's money. And if, again, I'll say it again, if you have any doubt about it, It is your business. You blow one deal with your investors, they will never invest with you again. And like I said, for them to go out and promote your business and say you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, there's nothing worse when they're saying you're the worst. If they call you the worst, your business is over anyway, and then you're fighting a bad reputation, you might as well get out of the business. How do you do that? Protect your investors, protect your co-lenders, no matter what. Underwrite hard, do your due diligence, surround yourself with